said, I'm going to bring up my share screen. And let's go from the beginning. And this is Ethics at Work, teaching ethics through movies. And one of the things that I will say, because I was part-time for so long, that the practical experience of that part-time and the full-time work is tremendous benefit in the classroom for guest speakers and for people who want to be adjuncts. So we had a wonderful opportunity at Miami, and this is the National Academy Award. This is the Emmy presentation there. The mortgage crisis is something that I use from multiple perspectives. And it so happens the producer of the film that won the Business Emmy in 2018 was a Miami grad. It so happens that film was also nominated for the Oscar. It did not win the Oscar, but it was nominated. So when you frame up the ethical issues, I call it the ethical tsunami. That's what the mortgage crisis was. Little or no underwriting, selling of mortgage to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, securitization of mortgages. I mean, I remember the day Lehman's fell completely. And when I was in grad school, Lehman was like the king of bonds. I mean, if you got an offer from Lehman, you were really special. That said, when Lehman fell, there were many people who said, I knew it was going to happen because of the way the mortgages were being bundled and securitized and hadn't been underwritten properly. But the problem with that was there was no laws that prevented that from happening. And although there were ethics groups that were trying to be influential, they didn't have the voice that was needed. So, you know, when you look at the financial collapse, you have fraudulent CMOs, you have Repo 150, which was one of Lehman's practices where they found a way, they couldn't find a law firm or CPA firm in the United States to approve their accounting practice. So they went to England, they found one with an international practice, and basically they were selling bad assets that were on the books as valued, market value. They were selling them at the end of the quarter with an automatic agreement to buy back. No cash was ever exchanged. And Lehman's statements didn't show what the heck was going on. Countryside obviously is another one. Too big to fail, AIG example with the megaphones, you know, and on the street saying citizens arrest of the AIG board of directors. Then the government bailout, large bank write-offs. This is something that is over 2 weeks in the class. When you look at the write-offs, there were 2008 mortgage in the mortgage crisis, 8 trillion, Enron 74 billion. Theranos, recent, the trial in California just came back with a guilty verdict of Elizabeth Holmes on 4 counts of fraud. And there was an article, I believe, Thursday, I'm not remembering Wall Street Journal or New York Times, that basically said Silicon Valley hasn't learned anything from this. Even though everybody said Silicon was going to learn something, money is still flowing to ideas that aren't properly formed and ideas that are very risky without proper disclosure. Madoff, depending on who you talk to, 50 to 65 billion. That's not the only cost though. Last weekend, his sister and brother-in-law committed suicide in their 80s. His son committed suicide. So we talk about not only financial loss, but human loss. Wells Fargo, 2.38 billion, Lehman 63. So it's a big loss. So then we go, where's the evidence? Where's the ethical breaches that we're going to link to the movies? And the evidence in emails. One of the things that we talk about is, if you learn one thing from this class, is do not write cover-up emails. Do not disclose things that you haven't disclosed to the company. Your moral duty is here. Text messaging, bragging about cover-ups, Goldman Sachs, some of the bragging text messages are unbelievable, and transfers without recording. In fact, there's a judge in Harris County, Texas, that actually ruled a woman didn't have to pay her mortgage because nobody could find it. It'd been sold so many times. She was sending her payments to a lockbox, and the lockbox was closed, and she couldn't find a new lockbox. And she went to her first underwriter, and they said, I don't know. And they traced. And anyway, judge said, forget it. Here's what happened with the movie the documentary that was nominated for the Oscar and won the Emmy. This is a David and Goliath story. It is I think the 2,300th size bank in the United States. It's about cultural practices. It's about discrimination against Asian practices, Chinese practices, where families often at marriage give a gift or a loan. It depends on how you look at it. And if the parties that are marrying, they use it for real estate. In the parents or grandparents' elder situation, they often take care of them. Is that a payback of a loan, or is that more gifting or more family relationship? It's a great question. And the prosecutor's office missed it. Stellar performance. Fannie Mae actually in the documentary testifies that this bank, which was Abacus in New York, had one of the best records in the United States on default. And yet they're the only bank that's charged. And I think you'll see in the clip why. This bank had strong customer relations because the Chinese society, they were very intercommunicating with each other. They had consistent performance, tremendous family loyalty, and practice ethical sales despite having a mortgage broker who really triggered this whole mess with his bad, unethical practices. But once the bank discovered him, he was fired immediately. And yet the bank was charged with 85 counts. In the end, the bank was, by the jury, found not guilty on all counts. Now, in all fairness, there are 4 elements of fraud. And one of the elements is damages. And Fannie Mae said there was no damage. They actually made money. So can you have fraud and make money? It was an interesting paradigm. So I have a clip now that we're going to show on the Sung family. And here we go.
Today, we are announcing the indictment of the Federal Savings Bank on mortgage fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy.
Karen, we can't see it.
You can't see it?
Nope, I can hear it.
And I'm seeing it.
Wedged between a couple of noodle shops.
Let's try. Wait a minute, let me.
A federally chartered bank that has been catering to the Chinese.
Okay.
We can hear it, but not see it.
You can hear it, but not see it. And my thing says, I see it. So that's weird. Let me try again.
Immigrant community.
Can you see it now?
If you were
No.
on a bank,
No.
family-owned company, wedged between a couple of noodle
Same
shops.
problem. We can hear it, but can't see it.
As you could possibly.
Hi, you might have to stop sharing your screen and then reshare it so that we can see the video, because right now you probably just selected for us to see the PowerPoint, and that's the only thing that we're able to see. Right now.
Okay, so help me out. What are you suggesting I do?
Where you have, there should be a button for you to stop sharing the screen right now.
Structuring the screen.
Probably at the top.
Zoom does not have that option that I'm aware of.
Pick.
Stop sharing.
When
Yeah,
that
I'm
was
stop-
there
just
was
stop
no
sharing the
bank
screen.
owned by Chinese
Okay.
Yeah,
conservative
and
Chinese.
now
When I walk
click
around
where it
here,
says
I
share
feel
screen.
very much at home. This is a very tasty noodle shop.
And instead of clicking the PowerPoint, just share the general screen or
Now is it working?
Excited about this bank. He was gonna
Yeah,
start.
now we
Yes,
can
we got it now.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yes.
can see it now.
Good.
Yeah, in 2009, one of our loan officers stole money. He was lying all over the place. He was running a money laundering operation.
You want to start it over, Karen?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh,
Thank you for suggesting that. That's good.
Savings bank on mortgage fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy. A federally chartered bank that has been catering to the Chinese immigrant community since 1984.
If you are going to pick on a bank, a family-owned company wedged between a couple of noodle shops in Chinatown, it's about as easy a target as you could possibly pick.
When I was a lawyer, there was no bank owned by Chinese and serving Chinese. When I walk around here, I feel very much at home. This is a very tasty noodle shop.
That's always special. That's the butt. Isn't it the butt? When we were children, my dad was excited about this bank he was gonna start. We serve people who've never even dealt with the banking system before. This whole ordeal began in 2009. One of our loan officers stole money. He was lying all over the place. He was running a money laundering operation. I fired him that day.
They went straight to their regulator and they told them about it.
The DA's office started asking us questions. Wait a minute, maybe we're the target.
If that prosecution goes through, that bank is going to go out of business.
Although this is David versus Goliath, their whole family of lawyers.
We spent a lot of time investigating and ended up absolutely convinced that the loan department was corrupt through and through. They routinely falsified mortgage documents.
Reporters in this town were treated to this extraordinary photo opportunity, this almost Stalinist looking chain gang.
Herded like cattle down the hallway. I've been doing this for 25 years and I've never seen that happen.
Mommy's worried. Papa's 80 years old. He's been up since 5:30 a.m. He has nothing to eat dinner. Let's get you some food. Papa, you do. This is how he is. He's very calm, and I'm like a jumping bean. So I'm always running around. You're gonna eat out. You're going to the man. Okay, you're not a young kid anymore. Hey, it's killing you.
Abacus Federal Savings Bank had one of the nation's lowest default rates, not the highest, one of the lowest. Frankly, if every bank had underwritten as well as Abacus, you wouldn't have had a financial crisis.
You get the wrong impression that Chinese are not law-abiding.
This case is an attack on our community. We're easy prey.
Too big to fail turns into small enough to jail, and Abacus is small enough to jail.
So I think you can see how exciting that particular film is from multiple perspectives, cultural perspective, individual perspective, what is damage perspective. And we were lucky enough, and this is what Chelsea referenced, that we said, well, we'll invite the family, the girls that are running the bank now, the daughters, one of whom was working for the prosecutor's office and quit. We're going to invite them to Miami for a panel discussion. And the students can come up with the questions and we'll see if that worked. Well, we invited them. They said yes. We thought maybe good day, we'd have 150 to 200. We had 690 people on Zoom. And we had, after 690, I can't tell you how many people asking to see the film of it. I mean, it was an amazing success story that the students got totally involved to understand the ethical issues, the legal issues, the cultural issues. And we stay in touch with the family. They know we're showing it again today. I sent them an email last night and thanked them for the education they've given America and our students in that regard. So we've been very, very, very happy with the use of that. And now I'm going to go to another slide that talks a little bit about what we try to do with the movies and with the documentary. Recognize ethical issues in business situations. As Wanda said, and as Chelsea said, this is such a wonderful opportunity through movies and documentaries to recognize the ethical issues. Let them apply ethical frameworks and ethical theories. This is where we marry academia and theory to practice. And students will describe the ethical consequence of decision alternatives. What we're trying to do there is make sure that they understand the consequences to them from potentially financial and personal that are not insignificant and also harm the greater good and the total loss to American business, etc., is talked about. And we just feel so good about movies are far better teachers than I could be, for sure, because they have all the facts and all the theory application potential right in front. So from there, we go to the social responsibility is key. And we tell them that we're going to explore social responsibility. You've learned the theories, you've learned the application. And our goal is to help you and your future company make a difference in instituting ethical practices. So with that, we are very thankful for the opportunity to present to you. And we wonder if there are any questions that we can talk about, anything further.
Karen, there's a question in the chat.
There's a question in the chat.
I'll read it if you don't mind.
Sure,
says-
well, why don't you go ahead and answer it?
Well, I don't really have an answer. It says that they appreciate the decent factory recommendation. And I'm wondering if there's any other positive or inspiring examples of businesses doing things well. We show so many films that highlight unethical behavior. I was trying to think. Wanda's probably the expert here. Wanda, any thoughts?
Well, on movies that show good and corporate America, I know we could probably go through Frontline and find hundreds, and Frontline's a good source, incidentally, of not charged videos. You can get those for free. But having said that, I know we get all negative. I'm trying to think of positive, and I'm not coming up with good sources. Wanda, do you have any?
Positive portrayals of corporations.
Portrayal of goodness in corporations. Good
I
results.
think the movie Fires of Kuwait is very good. And emergency mine rescue is very good. Fires of Kuwait are where all the businesses have working together to put out the fires of Kuwait after the invasion by Saddam Hussein. That's a great movie. My students loved it. And then the movie Emergency Mine Rescue about the miners who are way down trapped. And these businesses work together to rescue them. That's a really good documentary as well.
Sorry, Wanda, can you say the name again? I missed it.
Fires of Kuwait.
But there was there a second one?
Emergency Mine Rescue.
Thank you.
Right, and there are, that's really good, Wanda, both of those. And
think
there is
the movie-
also a TED Talk on the Chilean mine disaster.
They're good.
That is really, really good. That is an excellent, a Harvard professor does that, and it's framed, Chelsea actually used that one. It's framed in teamwork, that people from all over the world and companies from all over the world came together to get every one of those miners out alive.
That's a great movie. Another movie that's good is Spotlight, about
Yeah.
busting the priests who violated children, but they work together. We see them working together from the Boston Globe to break the case. That's a nice picture showing positive corporation. And I think Shattered Glass is interesting because they're dealing with a journalist at the New Republic who's fabricating articles. And once they find out from Forbes that this was going on, he began to address it. And that's interesting portrayal too. I
There's
can
a-
think
There's
of more
also,
time.
go ahead. Wanda, go ahead. You are the fountain of information.
Oh, okay, just a second. Let me just get my list here.
Her background's so realistic.
Mhm.
Always shocks me when.
Big Tobacco, Exxon Valdez.
Catherine, while we're waiting for Wanda to locate that, Catherine, I want to be respectful. She made a comment and chat to everybody about how close she is to Virginia Tech and sensitive to those kind of conversations. And I think that's really, really important to do. Sometimes after a period of time, whoever feels it's appropriate releases something that allows us to talk about it. And an example is our Fifth Third Bank and US Bank just partnered within the last month to create a documentary on redlining and the mortgage discrimination that occurred in redlining. And I was shocked at how good it was and how honest it was and transparent it was. And it concentrated on Dayton, Ohio, and Springboro, which is very close to Oxford. So I'm actually going to use that this week in class, but I think you saw me struggle clearly to find good. And I think you've just given me an assignment that I should have had a long time ago, is to find and show some things that are good results.
Well, I thought of another movie that I think is really a positive portrayal, and that's the movie Invictus. It's about South Africa and Nelson Mandela, but the portrayal is quite wonderful. And the rugby team worked with him to sort of draw the country together and overcome the starkness of apartheid. But that's a really positive portrayal as well.
You know what? You said a magic word to me, rugby. I use Alive in the Andes, which is the rugby team that was on from Uruguay, that was on the plane that crashed in the Andes. And two of the men with no mountain climbing experience took a 10-mile hike through the Andes, hike in quotes, to civilization, rudimentary civilization, and were able to get the rest 16 out alive. It's a great thing about teamwork, and they actually apply that to corporate teams. And to your point, Wanda, use that to talk about Tylenol and how out of the Tylenol disaster, we got sealed bottles and sealed containers.
Definitely. They didn't have any before that.
Yeah,
Was
that's a
sealed
great,
bottles into.
yeah, that's a great example of good leadership.
Yeah,
Tylenol.
really good.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing that up to those who attended. That's going to help improve our classes. And Wanda, you're a fountain of knowledge. So we appreciate you for sure. Anybody else have anything? Well, we have 6 minutes. Okay, Blair, it's good to see you again.
I'm sorry, the video was on and then it was off. I don't know when it came and went. Could you all share your email addresses in chat? I picked up one from the presentations, but didn't get them all. This has really been terrific. I mean, just in terms of the resources that you've provided, that anyone could use and probably have material for an entire year and then some. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And you know what, with your background, you could just make a classroom come alive. I mean, I hope they have an opportunity to hear you.
So I'm going to put mine in chat also, if anyone wants to follow up, and I'll tell you, and I'm happy to connect you with the Lockheed Martin team, but they speak, and Lockheed's videos, all of the training videos are available at no cost for academic use. So all the ethics awareness training, the integrity minutes that are like mini soap operas. You can look at lockheedmartin.com at the ethics page and see what I'm talking about. All of that is available to all of you at no cost, and I'm happy to help put you in touch with the folks there.
Oh, well, thank you. Your email is going to be invaluable too. Everybody's email. If everybody wants to share, we are more than happy to take these down for sure. And the more that
I put my address on the chat.
okay, great, Wanda.
Got it.
You know, the more that people, our students, see activity that is positive and attempting to implement good practices, that is just terrific education.
I totally agree. Well, thank you all for coming to our presentation.
Absolutely. And stay in touch. If we can help any of you, we are eager to do that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, have a good evening. Lots
You
of good
too.
places to eat in Cincinnati. I'm a Cincinnati native, so I have tremendous bias.
With good reason. With
Yeah.
good reason.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Blair. Thank you.
Yeah,
It was great to meet you. Great to meet you, Catherine. Great.
Bye-bye.
And
Bye.
Valerie, thank you for your suggestions. Appreciate those.
y'all
Yeah,
take.
Valerie, thank you. Catherine, thank you. This was just terrific.
Yeah.
Sorry I had to join late. I was chairing another session, but they only had enough material for a half hour. So I was able to join you after all.
Oh, well,
Great.
we're glad. We're so glad. And if anybody wants our slides, we're happy to share the slides. We are happy. Anybody who hasn't seen Small Enough to Jail, I would strongly encourage that. That's free on Frontline. It has lots of opportunity for discussion. So again, thank you. Anybody final, anything? I think we can say, have a great meal in Cincinnati.
Yes.
Go for it. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
They may not be in Cincinnati, Karen.
Oh, you know what? A lot of them are virtual.
Right.
Totally. I'm in Marietta, Georgia, just outside Atlanta, but
Have a great meal in Marietta, Georgia.
there you go.
Yes.
That's
You see,
exactly right.
Chelsea, I always knew
Thanks
that-
again, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.